Keep recording. There we go.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, let me shut the door. And we'll share screen. Share screen.
You screen the green button in the middle.
Oh, goodness, right there. It's been a day. All right. Chair Hall, you can begin.
Great. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting of the Salem Public Art Commission to order on Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. My name is Zach Hall, Chair of Salem Public Art Commission. If we could go around and introduce ourselves.
You want to do on screen or off screen? Susan Apac, Vice Chair.
Great.
Krista Lauer, Commissioner.
Oh, Spencer Emmerich, Commissioner.
Keep on the wind staff.
Brian Hart, don't know what I am yet.
Your commissioner in training.
Commissioner in training.
Welcome, Brian.
Thank you.
Carly Wright, interested Salemite.
No, there you go.
Thanks for joining us, Carly.
Officially, may I read a statement from the city manager's office?
Great. Yes, please.
Liaisons, good morning. On April 16th, the Boards and Commissions Appointment Committee met to fill vacancies across our boards and commissions. The selected applicants will move forward for council URA consideration on May 13th and May 28th. Please see the attached roster and to identify any changes. And you were identified on the roster as one of the appointees. So once it goes through council, it should be approved. And so looks like there's another one in June. And he asked me to review with the commission that Zachary Hull and Susan Napak's appointment expires at the end of December. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Great. At the end of December, is that right?
I'm sorry?
Did you say December or September? I can't.
December.
All right, Susan, we're going to have to go form our own club.
You can reply.
That's right. That's right. So is Brian a voting commissioner as of now, or just need to
No,
wait?
not yet. Yeah. Sorry for this.
No, it's okay.
Is there how many consecutive terms can you find? I don't think it's just one term.
Well, term length is 3 years.
3 years. We haven't been on for 3 years.
No, see, I think you may have filled in a partial one. So let me double check with them, but if you are interested, let me know now. Yes.
Yeah, I'll continue.
Check. Zach?
Yeah, potentially.
I'll
Is
just-
It can't have been 3 years already.
No,
Yeah, so you guys must have filled a partial one.
I don't think so.
Because it says Zach Hull appointed 12/13/2021.
Really?
Time flies.
That makes me feel younger and younger.
But Susan Napak's one is March 28th, 2022. So must have been the
Okay.
second one. Yeah, so you're a little
Okay.
longer, but the term for this position ends on the 24th or
Okay.
December 24th. Okay.
Crazy.
Let's talk about expanding the commissions. Is there any news on that?
Not from this roster.
And did you say, Keith, there was someone else joining in June?
That is when they will take a look at the second set of applications for consideration.
Great. Well, welcome, Brian. Sorry you don't get to vote yet, but thanks for joining the commission.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Public comment. Is there anyone wishing to address the commission today?
There was someone that, his name is Cody Klein. I think I forwarded you all that information. He said he was planning on coming, but it doesn't look like he's, or is it in attendance, so we can move on.
Okay. In that case, I'd like to move to approving the consent agenda, the agenda for May 8th today, and the minutes for the April 10th meeting. So I'm going to move to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
And all opposed?
Oh.
Opposed? I'm speeding that up. How about that?
Yes. Yeah.
The approval of the consent agenda is approved. Okay, jumping into our discussion items. Updates on art wraps for utility boxes, historic landmarks, downtown revitalization.
Yes. So the art wrap boxes, I confirmed the program. There was one existing with historic landmarks. They have a few out there. Downtown revitalization, they still haven't installed the remaining 11 because of weather. But now with the 80-degree weather, maybe we'll get some installations. And yeah, that's essentially what we had. I asked Public Works if the program is still, available, and essentially we would just follow all of the guidelines that they outlined for the downtown revitalization and the historic landmarks. The only thing that we would consider is the selection process, how we would do it, because I have a little bit more perspective from legal. Mark Weinstein couldn't make it today, but I have some information that might help us in our discussion.
So that was in relation to our request to see if we could treat wrapping the utility boxes the way that we handle the street paintings.
Exactly.
And have an application process.
Yep, and we'll go into that if we are ready.
Yeah, please.
Okay, I'm gonna read. Okay, so this is not word for word from Mark Weinstein, but this is my summarization of what we talked about. As you're aware, SPAC carries a weighty responsibility of being the sole arbiter of artistic merit for the Salem Public Art Collection. This means that SPAC holds the ultimate authority in determining which pieces enter and exit the collection. It's imperative to emphasize the non-delegable nature of this authority. The city's stance is clear. The authority for determining artistic merit cannot be delegated to any other governing body, administrators, or designees. This authority is firmly vested in SPAC as outlined in city code and established city policies. Underlining the importance of community oversight, we underscore the value of having a panel of community members such as SPAC, tasked with making decisions about the city's public art collection. This approach guarantees representation, accountability, and transparency in the selection process, reflecting the diverse perspectives and interests of our community. It's equally vital to reference legal requirements and city code provisions that bolster SPAC's exclusive authority in determining artistic merit for the public art collection. Adherence to these regulations is paramount in upholding the integrity and legitimacy of SPAC's decisions. Additionally, I'd like to address the street painting program, which was expedited through city code change, but administered through the Public Works Department. This entailed the Director of Public Works taking responsibility for accepting the artwork, a process that legal has and continues to advise against. The city does not want a single individual to determine what has artistic merit and what doesn't. This entailed the Director of Public Works taking responsibility for accepting the artwork, a process that legal has and continues to advise against. But in this case, street paintings are not considered part of the public art collection because there is no maintenance requirement according to the admin rules. However, the selection of saying, yes, you can paint there with that design is left up to a staff member accepting the application. Legal is saying that is very challenging, and SPAC has been identified as the only sole body to make that decision, what comes into the art collection. And so that's kind of the rub in terms of ensuring that even temporary art, if it essentially, if we go and move forward with the temporary art, SPAC will need to be the sole arbiter in determining how long it stays and if it's of artistic quality. Zach, you look like you have some questions.
Yeah. Yes, as my face is telegraphing my thoughts. I have a couple thoughts. One, so just to clarify, as this relates to wrapping the landmark, the
No, that was just a general statement that Liga provided.
Okay.
We didn't go down and tick off each of the pieces.
Yeah.
In the agenda, but we did touch upon the street painting program because we wanted to
Understood.
understand what was going on there.
Yeah, understood. Okay, so I guess we've struggled in the past with this idea that to do to be the transparent arbiter of public art, artistic merit, that we also have to take the art into the collection. And so that's always been an awkward marriage, I guess, in my mind. They're very different things. One is about community taste, artistic merit, appropriateness, etc., gatekeeping. The other one is a mechanical, financial maintenance, kind of activity around we're going to adopt this piece into a permanent or semi-permanent state in the collection. So I think I agree, and I get the point that there should be a citizen body that is the gatekeeper for the imagery. I guess I don't really take an issue with that. The challenge seems to be that we then have to engage in this kind of conceit that it's a part of the collection when it's by its nature a temporary thing. So if those two things can somehow get separated, conceptually, I guess I don't really see that there's any conflict there. Sure, yeah, maybe we could unify all of these things, and SPAC's explicit authority, etc., could be decoupled from having to put something into the permanent collection, because that just doesn't make sense in the case of street art or fence painting or murals, even, which have a limited time frame to them. I just don't know that. I don't know. Anyone have any thoughts about that? Is that maybe we could ask Mark to comment on that too?
I think his response is in about Councilor Nishioka's ask for a temporary art to be included in the types of art that's being done in Salem. Is that what I understand? So I think he might actually be proposing that it would have to be a separate kind of type of art, like this temporary art, and he in there obviously includes the street paintings and possibly, wrapping the utility boxes. And I sort of agree that there should be an entity right now Public Works looks at whatever's proposed for the street paintings and just does it, makes a decision based on whether they can close the street off, or whether it's crosswalks and things like that.
Well, there are criteria within the design, like no words or letters from any alphabet, no numbers, designated symbols, all of those things. And so the question I had with the staff member who is implementing the street painting program, I say, so who do you consult with? He's like, the instructions. If it says this, I just check it off and let them know. And I think but because it's not in the public art collection, and Peter Fernandez, who's a public works director, took it upon himself to take on that authority because it is literally on the street that he's responsible for. They can remove it at any time for whatever reason. I think that is the reason why it wasn't part of the collection. So you can have a snowplow come right through or something and it's gone. So I think that was the reason why it's not part of the permanent collection.
But think that, the aesthetics of it, we can debate whether that needs to be approved or not, because it's a community effort. But I sort of agree with Mark that, if there is gonna be any body that's gonna, judge the aesthetics or, whatever, I think we have a totally different criteria for community art than we would for getting something. Maybe not, but, I agree, but maybe is he saying that it can be done? That there can be a separate way of judging this temporary art, or we call it something else, and that it would be under the auspices of SPAC?
Yeah,
Because it makes total sense to me,
our,
and it not be in public works and that, or be partly in public works.
the charge from Councilman Nishio was to explore temporary art. And that is up to the definition of SPAC. But not only defining it, but administering a program that SPAC would oversee. I think that is the piece that I learned about in this. So yeah, we can have temporary art, we pass it through code, but we cannot delegate it to public works or community services or parks to make that decision. It is SPAC, because it is outlined in our code.
So Keith, I guess the chicken and egg there a little bit is like, SPAC can't delegate it to, but it's already happening, right? Public Works already approving it, stuff's going up on fences, so things are getting wrapped. Like clearly there's lots of different groups, so it feels like a little bit outside of our authority scope to police this, right? Or to somehow gather all the cats together in the same, in the same direction. I think if they are gathered, if the city wants SPAC to be the overviewer of public art imagery, sure. But I don't know that, but the idea that SPAC is, or the implication that SPAC has somehow taken an affirmative act of delegating its authority is, obviously not the case. Like,
No,
we haven't done that. We're not trying to do that. Stuff's just happening, which is kind of exciting. It's great. Like I think everyone's trying to do things out of absolutely the right spirit of like, let's get more public art out there. So how do we kind of align with these different groups to allay legal's concerns?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I thought about that.
Without squashing the enthusiasm of those groups or putting unnecessary, pinch points into the process.
Absolutely. So we have a model for essentially temporary art, which is a street painting program, but we don't want to have that delegation to public works or any entity. But what I told Mark Weinstein from legal, because in order for them to change specific, code, we need to know what the ask is. So I was thinking about a spreadsheet, and on the left-hand column, we would write, what are these? The different art pieces, right here, utility art, street painting, Salem Parks fence, temporary art. Put that on the X or whatever, the left-hand side column, and then think of how, what the specific asks are, and then what code it falls under. And then that way we can give that matrix to legal and say, hey, this is what SPAC identified as potential temporary art in these potential buckets that may affect these potential codes. I mean, that would be what they would work on and then offer up to council.
Yeah. And so let me say that back to you. So for example, sign code obviously prohibits all sorts of stuff, and I'm sure transportation they don't want alphabet, they don't want letters on streets and whatever. So whatever the medium was, whatever the surface was we were looking at, may have certain surface specific requirements that need to be considered in addition to the, existing kind of artistic merit criteria that we might be using already for taking something into the permanent collection.
Yeah. So for instance, street box wrapping, community art boxes. Historical, they have a group of people that decided it was mainly more historical education, not so much like art, but you could lump it together. The downtown one, the art has already been selected. The images are part of the collection.
Yeah, so that was easy. Yeah.
What we are suggesting is a program where we have local artists develop their own art, place it on there. So similar to the street painting program, we wouldn't have to develop these rules, but it would have to go through the channels of like the mural instead of the administrative rules that Public Works created. If that.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Okay.
And there are other communities that do it, so we wouldn't be inventing the wheel by any extent.
But we'd be creating the process in which SPAC would be.
Sure.
Review
Sure.
Is there a, so maybe we could ask legal, I would still like to, and maybe this is what you're suggesting, Keith, create a distinction between permanent collection and I guess what we could call temporary collection, where permanent collection is is logically what you think of it as. Like we acquired a piece of artwork and made it part of the permanent collection. So somewhere there's an object that we SPAC said this should be part of the permanent collection. And then there's the temporary collection, which is a revolving, constantly changing series of artworks on a variety of surfaces in a variety of places that come and go for periods of time. And while they're within their display period, whatever that is, they're part of the collection and they're subject to SPAC's authority. And then they're removed and they're no longer part of anything. You know, maybe we keep a record of it, but they're not part of a collection anymore. So it just, whether that's 7 years or 6 months or a statue, a rotating art exhibit for a weekend in Riverfront Park or whatever it is that we're being asked to look at, you know, these things have these little time frames where they're in and out of the temporary collection. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's one way to describe it. I think to say that it's, I don't know if you have to say that it's part of a temporary collection or just say it's under the auspices of SPAC for however, you know, amount of time. It might get a little confusing to say it's part of the collection, but only temporarily.
I'm just trying to use words in architecture that everyone's already familiar with. I don't care what the words are actually, you know.
As long as it's understood by legal.
That's kind of my point, right?
You can come up with.
It's the permanent temporary break that I want to make. Like that blending always makes me a little uncomfortable. So if there's a way to do that Mark can, you know, advise on, that would be helpful, I think.
I think this is something that we've been talking about for a long time, to kind of be able to do this within the framework of SPAC. So I think there's a door that's been opened.
Yeah. When I remember when it first came, SPAC was like, we don't want to be the arbiters of art, you know, it's not our responsibility. Let people in the community choose. But then, you know, this side of it is, yeah, we have an established body and procedure for community interest. So I think the door's open.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy and it'll drive whatever it drives, right? Like maybe our group will be very laissez-faire about what comes in and that'll generate strong public reaction, and the next group of people will come in with a mission to, you know, be aggressive about.
Well, we can have criteria also. We can kind of
Absolutely.
outline maybe criteria for community art that might be a little bit different than for the public.
Yeah, how does Mark envision that we would develop those criteria?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is Mark kind of envisioning that we would develop some criteria by which to look at temporary art that would function in addition to whatever the surface requirements or limitations were, or?
Yep, that's what our job would be, is to identify those.
Okay.
Just one thing on task 3 here, if you're gonna be doing the spreadsheet or whatever, the giant trolls, I love that. But the Salem Parks Fence grant program. I think we should also include, if we can, citizens painting their fences. their private fences, because at our last neighborhood association meeting, one of the great grand stories was that somebody had painted a wonderful mural in the alley and it had deterred tagging and graffiti that had been going on for a really long time. So I think there has to be a way to say, oh, that's, not say that's illegal, you can't do that, because obviously people want to do it. So there needs to be a framework in which they can do it, whether it has to come through the temporary art program or whatever we do, but it should be included in there.
Yeah, while we're talking about surfaces, I did read through this before the meeting and I didn't have any comments, but now I do. Can we add, I don't know how to, it's this concept of like what the downtown development group has, where in my last meeting with them, they were real interested, for example, in spaces within the Schmecketa Parkade being available for art, for temporary art. And so it's that concept of the surface database, or the, um, it's not quite within the mural program, or it's some version of a temporary mural, or I don't know. Kind of want to, maybe we can just put a header in here that we haven't thought of all of the surfaces yet, that we might want to your point, make a matrix where we kind of go through the surfaces, see what what code implications there are, and then come up with a criteria list and see if that differs by surface, or if we can apply the same criteria to all the surfaces and then just bolt on the code problems, the code challenges or requirements.
Yeah, just for information, the Salem Parks fence, Mark is looking into that grant program as well. It's a little complicated of the surface it's on right now, because it's multiple private properties fences abutting, public property. So if we were to simply grant, we could simply have that fence as part of the public collection through the mural process and change the mural code that says fences are appropriate surfaces. But when you talk about the neighborhood ones, like a private property one, if they wanted to paint a picture of their portrait of their family, SPAC would have to review it and say, yes, that's artistic. No, that's not artistic.
Yeah, well, I think it should go through the same if we're talking about a process with criteria, it would be included as one of the surfaces that would have to have that criteria. And then we'd have to say, sure, go ahead. But it could, we'd have the street painting and the utility boxes and fences and other surfaces, and kind of open it up.
So how do we capture that? Is that part of our strategic plan, or is this a working group that we
could do a work group? I was hoping that we would flesh out the strategic plan and then pull out parts of the strategic plan that related to some kind of code change, or related to temporary art. But I think it's mainly on this one, on murals.
So yeah, it feels almost like we need maybe strategic priority 4 is turning into something a little different, which is temporary art criteria, temporary art program development or something. And we are including murals in that because, in fact, I think they are already by definition temporary. And even though we're taking them into the permanent collection, we're doing it for a limited period of time. So maybe we think about, to your point earlier, maybe think about can the existing mural program be expanded to include these other things, or do we need to create a different program to, how and fit murals underneath it? I don't know.
I don't think it's just murals, because murals are really defined by paintings on the wall. So we're talking about fences, we're talking about wraps, we're talking about, different things. So maybe we just call it, community, or, expanding the definition of, or expanding something, public art to include other programs, but. Cause it really is basically, we're pretty narrow right now as far as the murals, but then we'll basically want to open it up, expand it to another language. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not murals.
It's something like temporary art on public facing surfaces. I mean, that's an awfully wordy way of getting there, but
That's good.
it kind of captures the street, the fence, the wall, the arcade, the
Or
Three
ten.
D, if people want to do it 3D, it's not necessarily on a surface. So like we had somebody who wants to do like bicycles on the bikeway, bicycle sculpture. So where would that fall in? So,
yeah, or I guess you could write public facing surfaces or locations.
contemporary art in public spaces
Contemporary art.
and contemporary,
Temporary art in public spaces, sure.
just public art.
I mean, I don't know that I think we need to develop this, and we're not going to do it in this meeting. So
Yeah.
this is the draft strategic plan, right? So
Yes, and I will try to condense everything that we've discussed into a matrix using the suggested draft plan.
yeah. So maybe
Questions.
Do we get specific about what we want to change? I mean, there probably, if we look at the code that's written for SPAC, there's probably specific language that we could pinpoint and say, this needs to change, because if it's just about the public art collection, then that would need, to change.
yeah, I feel like we need Mark to, weigh in on that. Like,
Yeah,
does he want us to suggest code changes, or does he want us to suggest programmatic organizational approaches, and then legal would step in and say, to accomplish that, you need a code change?
The latter.
The latter, yeah.
So we identify our needs, and then I do a matrix, a crosswalk between code that I think it interacts with, and then send it off to legal and they review.
I mean, I'm sure we could make a note. Like, it seems like the way to accomplish this would be to expand SPAC's authority beyond the concept of a permanent collection, but that seems kind of obvious. So, whatever the mechanism is.
Okay.
So maybe if you're a placeholder, just so we don't forget it, Keith, at that heading, it's like just put something like in public spaces / on public surfaces. And I know public space, spaces / public facing surfaces. I know that's a long acronym.
We'll whittle it down. Commissioner, Chair Hall, I'd like to introduce to you our guest. You mentioned, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Cody Jones.
Okay, excellent.
Cody.
Can you come on this side, please? I'm sorry, we can't.
Yes,
see on
would you
camera.
like me over here on this side?
Yes, please. Okay.
So should we back up for a minute to public comment?
Yes, if that's your discussion.
Sure, let's go ahead and, well, actually, let's just, do we need to keep going through the whole strategic plan today to approve the draft, Keith, do you think?
No, we can do that via email.
Okay, so should we approve it now, or do you want to push that out to approve it, this as a draft?
Let's push it out.
Okay. Okay, then let's pause for a minute before we get to online mural applications and go back and address public comment.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Cody Jones. I'm Cody Cotton Designs in McMinnville. I just started a new business, Fusion Drinking Fountains. We have drinking fountains and incorporate public art.
Should we just open this up so you can speak to it? These are the email designs you sent to me.
Do you have the drinking fountains?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Let's see.
Probably a good place to start. Okay, so in working with the city of Eugene, we redesigned, reworked the drinking fountain that they've been using for the last 30 years. It's done really well for them. And we incorporated artwork. And so this is a new company going to be launching, offering the fountains and a simple way to add artwork to the community. Some different designs here from local artists in Eugene and Portland. And the goal is to encourage the city to use their own public artists. And we have a simple process where we supply a digital template. And the artist will provide the artwork, send it back, and we laser cut the art and install it on the fountain, deliver it to the city.
It's interesting. It's timely in the sense that we are talking about all of the different surfaces that could be thought of as surfaces for artwork. Keith, it occurs to me that the drinking fountain design is probably outside of spec scope. Do you know who is that? A public works?
It would be, my submission would be Public Works Design Standards Engineering. They would have and outline all the specs required of drinking fountains regarding ADA accommodations and accessibility.
Mhm.
So I guess where we would come into play possibly is to approve artwork to go on there, and people would apply the way they apply for other things. I think they're pretty cool. Do
Unless-
you have drinking fountains in Salem?
Yeah, unless parks decide if we don't want drinking fountains as part of our art collection, and then they would hire, their designers or engineers to work with you. But I'm not quite sure if this would be part of the art collection, or it could. Have a rotating one seasonal, I'm not sure.
It's more along the lines of the utility box wraps that you were talking about, where art can be adapted
Yeah.
to something like that. Right now, we're not, well, we are involved in that. They show us what they're gonna put on there. We improve where they're going, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, in addition to the drinking fountains, if you'd like to show these sculptures.
Oh, is there more on this one? Okay, so this is what you submit to the engineer.
Yeah, this would be the process for this. So this isn't, this may not be the great, best representation if you go back to that, I guess, sculpture like that.
Okay.
So I'd like to get some feedback. The idea is to come up with sculptures, whether they be square, rectangle, or have different shapes. But the concept would be the same, to where the city has one sculpture and different art panels that they can interchange as they like, whether it's to freshen up the community or for an event or something like that. The idea is it gives more, it's more versatile and cost effective, I think.
So again, you work with specific artists who come to you and say, I want to put this design on there, or you go to the artist?
Well, for us, the concept is to encourage each city that's looking at this to use their public arts, their artists, and give, what this does in our mind is provides a more of a simple platform for artists to get their foot into public art, and it's very easy for the city. It's 2D, it's digital typically, or we can use that hand art as well and transfer that to steel. But it's a simple process. It's cost effective as compared to some sculptures. This is sub 20 for a 5 by 10 roughly or under. So,
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think the concept of drinking fountain surfaces is particularly interesting. It's a little more challenging for me to imagine a set shape or template And then, so, trying to run, I guess I don't, we typically are kind of interested in original artwork designed by artists, which of course for sculptural works would include the shape of the artwork, the medium, all of the things involved in sculptural work. So that one seems harder for me to conceptualize, just my personal feedback. I could see it working maybe in a corporate environment or in an institutional environment where there was a school or something set that up, and then every year they let somebody participate in it and their design went on it or something like that. From a city standpoint, it seems more challenging, but but I do think if the city went in the direction of wanting to do sort of bespoke designed drinking fountains, I think that's interesting. Again, it might be a little bit outside the scope of right now of SPAC, though it certainly rings the bell of what we were just talking about. If a drinking fountain conceptually in my mind isn't that much different than a utility box from the point of view of a surface that could be wrapped with an artwork image. So I think that's something that we could add to our list, Keith. But
And I'll also forward this to the parks manager.
yeah,
We'll have some parks projects coming up as well. So,
I think also with, what I understand the process is when we have percent for art, when a new building is built, there's an RFP where we say, artists suggest public art for this particular site. And then the artists come to us and then, we go through the process of judging it. So if an artist would come and say, they were doing a piece like that through you or whatever, then that would be part of that process rather than us saying, oh, we want this sculptural piece that has a lot of different things on it. So
that's interesting because parks, when they get percent for art, like if they build a bathroom, the pot of money that is up is not really big to secure a large, object. But this might be something that they can incorporate into smaller design.
could be more affordable or they can pay too.
That's true.
I mean, the modular.
We talked about, sorry, Zach, we had talked about having a register of artists, for murals and things like this, but we could certainly put the company out of, I would think, as a resource for artists possibly to be able to go to. I don't know how that would work.
It's part of our strategic plan. We could flesh that out in terms of amplifying, interested artists.
One of the other things I've been looking at is other placements, bollards, signposts, things like that, where you could easily incorporate this style of words. So as moving forward, I would love to be involved and hopefully become an asset, and however that works, we can determine that later.
Chair Hall, any more questions?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Good luck in your new
Yeah,
business.
okay. Yeah.
Thank
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. Again.
Thank you for your time.
Charlie.
Okay, where are we at?
So jumping back.
Sorry, I got distracted when he was in here. So was this we were gonna table this discussion till I was gonna distill it into simple matrix, and then you guys can fill those spaces in. Okay, perfect.
I think we're from a draft standpoint, I think we're pretty close. I mean, there's a bunch of work in there that draft implies. And I don't know that it's the complete universe, but it's pretty good. It's pretty close.
Yeah, and then maybe we prioritize or things that are low hanging fruit, are easy to get done or get started. Like going to the neighborhood associations, that could probably.
Oh, yes, I secured 2 spots to attend the next neighborhood association meeting. From Irma Dow. You have only 15 minutes because there is a lot of presentation during that meeting. let me get the specific date so I can put a number in for you. Is it tonight?
Oh,
Our-
that's
ours
the
is-
neighborhood, yeah,
Our meeting
Yeah.
association.
yeah, not ready yet.
Sorry, I'm taking us off topic, but.
Well, it's sort of part of the strategic plan.
Okay.
Do we need to drive across town real quick and do a presentation?
No, not tonight.
Now, this is for the chair meeting, the quarterly chairs meeting.
Right.
And the mayor's there, the city manager's there, you know, representation. Pretty much from every department, I think. Department.
So, Irma Coleman said, I can give only 15 minutes total. The chairs meeting are always packed. 15 minutes is great. June 27th at 5:30.
June 27th.
Assuming it's gonna be Louds, but let me confirm it.
Soon it's gonna be.
Louds auditorium?
Oh, no, it's usually, last time it was at Pringle Hall
Oh, okay.
and they serve food. So you can, I think last time it was pizza before that. So I don't know if it's still gonna be at Pringle Hall, but that's where they have.
Oh, I'm getting a response. I don't know what to do.
I usually go to those meetings.
I'm happy if it makes sense for me to come, I can do it, or Susan, you can do it, or anyone else who wants to do it.
Maybe the two of us could just introduce ourselves and just give a little, you know, we can show something. I don't know what we would, you know, do we wanna have visuals of some sort? We can talk.
We could do 5 slides on the strategic plan and just say, this is what SPAC's working on and what we're trying to accomplish, and part of it's doing this right now, being here talking to you, but we just want to make you aware of things we're
Yeah.
doing in case you can see ways that you wanted to get involved.
Yeah, good. And also, I think, say we'd like to come to your meeting, the neighborhood association meetings, and give a broader presentation about the art collection and just what we do, and so just kind of generate interest amongst the neighborhood associations. I see that as sort of our main mission, is to kind of say, for them to say, oh yeah, come to our meeting and, you know, tell us more about it.
So Keith, do you want to, you said you want to do something next. Do you want to make this into a spreadsheet, or do you, sorry, I kind of missed that part.
You mean the strategic plan?
Yeah,
Yes, I was gonna do that matrix I was talking about.
Okay.
But also clean up the strategic plan that we currently have, because it's definitely in draft form.
okay. So we'll keep talking about it next meeting then.
Yes,
See if we can we'll keep this agenda item on, see if we can improve it.
okay. Irma Coleman said it's gonna be probably at our library or Center 50 plus. Because the print hall has been booked.
So,
So it's still to be determined in June.
okay, so that's a Thursday night.
But so is it gonna be the chair and vice chair attending?
I think so. I'm usually in Portland on Thursdays, but I will, I can be back early. It's at what, 5:30 you said?
5:30, yes.
Like,
I would definitely like to do it just because I already have
Yep.
connection there. And I think we should have some nice visuals, basically, not too much verbiage, just show some nice pictures and then talk about what we've been talking about. And I think you had some from your, the presentation that was given.
Oh, the annual report.
Yeah, maybe you can
Yeah.
extract some
Yeah.
stuff from the annual, does that sound right to you, Zach, to kind of make a mini version of that?
yeah, let's think about it between now and then. I want to look at, we should just think about what is going to be the most interesting to that audience.
Yeah.
And what we are asking for,
Right.
whether we're just offering information or if there's any asks in there.
Tell
So,
them if they wanna put paintings anywhere on public park fences that we go through SPAC.
yeah, I think the evolution of this surface thing is maybe something that would be interesting to neighborhoods.
Yeah, for sure, because they all, a lot of have street paintings or wanted to do street paintings and other
Streets,
things like
streets
that.
and fences and utility boxes and like all the things, right? So if we could kind of come to them with a update of, hey, here's this, we're trying to unite all these things under a program and to make it a little more accessible by streamlining it, and you know, you might have services in your neighborhood that you'd like to have
Right,
considered for artwork. And here's how other neighborhoods are doing it and how SPACs get involved in synchronizing that. Something, I don't know. Which isn't quite what the annual report was. The annual report was a little more dry. So we could, but the concept of some pretty visuals with a few messages, I agree with that.
I'm not doing it anymore.
well, it was to the council.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, review the online mural application.
I honestly had not had time to work on it, but I haven't received any, I mean, the application is out there. I haven't received any, but I want to share with you something that has come up. And I think it's going to continue. So this is in South Salem. There's a Roth's back here. It's on Liberty Street. And this was Heroes Tap House before. And now it's being changed to Cosmo. So it looks like that. They said, hey, we saw Dave's Hot Chicken. We saw the other ones. Now, is this a sign or is this a mural? By the way, we're gonna apply this as a sign and this as a sign through sign code, but we want you to prove this part as a mural.
Have they already painted that, or is that a concept?
It's a concept, and then this is the artificial green wall. So before they even go through the process, they're trying to figure out how they're gonna approach it. And I think they're coming to the conclusion where sign codes are gonna approve the sign, the wording.
Mhm.
And SPAC, it will come to SPAC to approve the design of the building.
Yeah, I mean, do we know are they considering hiring a independent artist? Is it different from are they a chain? Is this artwork on all their build? I don't know. The kind of things we're gonna start
The
asking.
questions were, yeah, and I'm gonna walk the person through the application. And they say, this is, where you should, I just want to note that we did approve of the maraschino cherries one, which did have large wording. But legal said, the wording is part of the historical context of the painting. Not. And even the little pieces of it, if we were to have incorporated to the sign code, it is small enough to have been approved. But what we did was we used a broad stroke and approved the whole thing. Dave's Hot Chicken, they do have Dave's Hot Chicken, wording lit up banner, but we did not approve that. That was sign code. What we approved was just artwork. So with that in mind, I said that I would float this to SPAC because he's already saying, where do I pay my fees and all that. So I just wanted to let you know that this is coming down the line.
Okay.
Now the artificial wall, is that art? I don't know.
I don't think.
Even that side panel, is that just decoration or?
Yeah, so I think the side panel is gonna be, these are probably gonna be under sign code. But I'm working with sign code Stephanie Myers and figuring out how to do this.
What is Custom Hill?
It looks like a Mexican restaurant.
It's just down the street from my house.
Yeah.
I pass it almost every day. So it'd be nice for some color on it because it's kind of a sad building. Right?
Yeah, it looks like that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Well, it says family run since 2005, so probably is not a chain.
Yeah.
So they're probably hiring someone to do some artwork, which that's the right path to follow. Yeah. Cool. Thanks for that, Keith.
I'll
Okay,
continue to work on the report, on the online application.
social media plan report.
So it is May and it is Mosaic Month. So last week we just kind of did an introduction because we have 4 works in the collection that are mosaics, and there are 5 Wednesdays in May. So I figured it would be good just to have kind of an introduction, just let people know if they didn't really what is a mosaic and what that means, and kind of pique their interest a little bit. And then today I put up a post about the Salem Peace Mosaic. So really just about the history, the story behind it. Did mention how much of community effort it was, the fact that though now it is in storage, the city is actively looking for a new location for it. So hopefully just get people to kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that. And like, cool, I wonder where it's going to land. And then when it does have a new home, we can kind of do an update about that. And so just kind of get people involved. And then I have it planned for next week as well. It's going to be Mary Heinzman. And then at the end of the month, I'm going to be doing the feature on the Eco Earth Globe. So I am in contact with Carol from the Parks Department to get all that information and get some updated images and a report on some funding. She said there was a little bit of an update. So I will be doing that near the end of the month. So that is May.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I did notice that the Oregon Arts Commission is posting similar posts. I didn't know if they're patterning it after yours. I got that feeling because they're very similar and I had never seen them before.
Yeah.
Know anything about that?
I don't actually know. No, I mean, I guess our Oregon Artist Series Foundations, they've been reposting most of the posts.
Right.
And I've been talking to them actually, and they've just been very like gracious and appreciative of the posts. But no, I haven't had any info on those.
The Oregon Arts Commission, every once in a while they pop up in my feed and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, is this Krista? Did Krista write this? It's like, no, it's about their state, the state collection.
I
Yeah.
think
Interesting.
I
I'll take a
reached
look.
out to Sarah with them, so maybe I'll ask them if whenever she gets back to me.
Maybe there's a content sharing concept where we could, or just see their content calendar and like use it as inspiration, or if nothing else, like, or dovetail with it when ours overlap
Yeah.
with each other, that would be interesting to be able to amplify each other's,
Mhm.
I have an update, regarding Eco Earth Globe.
Oh, great.
I met this morning with Scott Archer, and the city engineer and the project manager, and Jennifer Keller from Parks, and then Rob Romanek from Parks Planning. City manager Keith Staley, assigned Scott Archer to, start the process so that next Earth Day, April 22nd, 2025, the city will be able to do an announcement stating the project, moving forward for the Eco Earth.
Oh, great.
We have funding, but what the engineers have been tasked with task number 1 is to update that quote from 2004 or 2020, from 2020, right?
I don't know.
4 years ago, yeah, it was about 4 years ago. Deterioration continues. And I think one of the issues was asbestos abatement if the tiles expose some of the original membrane. And so we're gonna ensure that, I think they're gonna use ARG to evaluate it. They did the first evaluation, so they're gonna do this one. Architectural Resources Group. It's the one we use for the restoration of the Pioneer family in Bush Park. Yeah, but they're our contractors of record. So the cost might increase, but hopefully it's not too much. So yeah, next Earth Day, we should be having the project rolling. Not necessarily done, but getting it planned out.
That's great. Congratulations to
Yeah.
Carol for all her work.
Sorry. I have a quick question just back on the social media plan. I noticed that when I went to the city of Salem's Instagram that I can't comment on, is that just something that the city's done?
Probably locked it down due to,
Other things, it can't be the art posts, but must be other things
Yeah.
that,
I'm not sure, that's weird.
yeah, because I was just gonna comment really quick and it just says comments on this post have been limited.
There have been weird comments in
Sure.
the past, right?
Bots.
Stuff-
Even
There
though-
have been comments. It was more Facebook, not Instagram.
Yeah.
And what Trevor essentially was doing is he was filtering comments, but he wasn't restricting people from commenting. So that is an interesting question. I will ask him about that.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, because the whole point is for people to kind of engage.
Right,
And he is able to filter through if people are being overly rude or negative. But we have a lot of positive feedback usually as well. So yeah, let me send him a message about that. Thank
Okay.
you for
thanks.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I sent it to the entire commission, but the Equal Earth Globe did get tagged. Have you all seen
I
it?
saw it.
You sent it to me. I think you sent it to everybody.
Okay, so at this meeting, we, earlier this morning, we determined that the Salem Public Art Commission is responsible for the Eco Earth Globe because it is part of the collection. It's not part of the park's responsibility. And so talking with Scott, he alluded to addressing the issue of the vandalism sooner than later. The cost of it, I'm not sure how much it's gonna cost. I'm not sure how we should engage ARG again. In terms of evaluating, but you know, we don't have monies budgeted for graffiti abatement or anything like that, but it sounds like he doesn't wanna wait a year until the project gets completed.
It's probably gonna be a pretty difficult.
Let me get the photo. Especially if it's, cause I don't think you can just power wash it.
Yeah, I'm assuming since it's deteriorating that quickly.
And I don't think there is there was a coating placed on it. So I am looking at vandalism.
That's a pretty bold tagging.
Yeah, it
You see
is.
it?
We're
I
looking
pulled
to,
my email from you, but
yeah,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe you guys can share screen, I can't find it right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. There you go. Oh, those are the pieces I sent her.
Oh, right.
hmm,
It is Gizmo's World.
Interesting, wow.
And so I didn't even try to attempt to scrub it off with anything.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a lot of parks patrons now that the sun is coming out. I think the charge is for SPAC to decide what we want to do with it.
Have the graffiti, well, now there are two graffiti abatement officers, was one, now there's two. Have they gone out to take a look at it and see if any of their, you know, whatever they use could actually, because it looks like it hasn't gone into the grout, or the grout turned white, where?
Not sure, but,
It's interesting.
I think their instructions were don't touch it because it's the public.
Yeah.
Is it like a silver?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it looks silver.
Oh, it's silver.
you could use there's graffiti removal spray, and if you spray it, along the letters and let it soak a bit. But again, I don't know how those towels are placed, or if scrubbing them like with a yeah, you'll need to scrub that off. But most of the graffiti sprays out right now are pretty good for removing that stuff. It's just gonna have to soak in a little bit. But again, if the towels are pretty loose, some of them might come off if you scrub them, or maybe with like the little metal wool scrubs as well.
Okay,
Again, I don't know if it has like a clear coat on it. It looks like it kind of does, but also it looks like the sun ate it. But yeah, that's a like an oil-based silver spray can.
yeah.
So it
And
definitely needs to soak in a little bit.
And there is grout and there is biological growth in the ground, like moss and all that. So that's why it's kind of, they don't want to touch it because it's just gonna fall. But if we are going to redo it, what if we just chip it all out? Because it's mainly the ocean, which the artist said was not, it can be replaced. That what they were really trying to save is all of the mosaic pieces. So, see, what is the option? If we're gonna have it redone, how do we address this acute?
How soon? How,
Well,
yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead, Zach.
How soon is it gonna? What's the schedule for redoing it?
Not until next year.
Yep,
I mean, if we can spray something on, let it soak for a minute and scrub it off, and we lose a few more tiles, and it holds the general thing over for a year,
okay,
that might be the easier path than chipping them all out and leaving a big blank for a year. I mean, I guess what I'm hearing is it doesn't really matter if some of those blue tiles fall off. So
Yep.
let's maybe go the easy path and see if we can get the paint off, and then
Eduardo, would you be able to supply me or just email me a list of or the name of the product you're thinking about? And then I
Yeah.
think the next step I'll do is say SPAC would like the city's abatement team to take a look at this first. This is our professional approach to using this method. And then we go from there to see what happens after. And
Yeah,
I'll,
it'll come off for sure, especially if you scrub it with that, and then with hot water pressure wash it just along that. It looks like those towels are made in like maybe 10 by 10 squares too. It doesn't seem like he individually put them all on.
yeah,
So it shouldn't do too much damage. If anything, maybe right there where the seams are, but that should probably be it. Like on the MOS part, that looks like it's like weaker than the other sides, but it shouldn't all just start falling off. Like unless you have a really intense pressure washer. But yeah, that spray, some scrubbing, and some hot water pressure wash should do the trick.
yeah. So they must have scaled the fence, tagged it and scaled back.
Put some razor wire up there.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I'll move forward with contacting the abatement team and or the parks abatement team and talk with the parks manager to see if we can get some help on this. Now that, everyone knows about it, and we have a plan to move forward with this, restoration, we should get rid of this.
Yeah, because the worse it looks, the more inviting it is for people to vandalize it, I would think.
the broken windows of the art world.
Yes.
Spencer, I saw your note that you got to go here in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Why don't we jump through the art collection maintenance, which I guess that topic is a good segue too.
Yes, sir. If it's in a museum.
I like what he did with the bases. That's good.
Yeah.
So I think I forwarded to the group, or he sent it to the group. But Liam said he's pretty much done. And we need to find a place to put them. I think that's our big task.
Yeah, I don't think I got. Yeah, but received.
He did not send
Just the patina.
He only said the rooster. Patina's.
Does the convention center not want it back again
I don't think
For
we
now?
wanted to give it to them because
Yeah.
of fear of.
or
them.
temporarily? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the original issue was that they would move it for certain events and that the movement of it kind of led to the deterioration of it.
Do they have anywhere they could put it that won't need to be moved, like in a corner somewhere for now? I mean, or temporarily, but still have it out there
I can check
for
with them if
people to
that's.
look
what
at,
we want.
to see, but not where they, not right in the middle of where they have to put up their tables for their food.
It was signed at the library prior to the convention center, where the rest of the collection is.
Library would be a nice place for it too.
Then the Nishioka is also work on the retrofit committee for the civic center. And there was talk initially about returning Drummer and Rooster to the civic center in some form. Not necessarily in the pond, but could be in the open area, but if it's exposed to the elements even more. So we can, have a committee, a subcommittee decide, or we can give I can ask other departments, but I don't know, where does the commissioner want to? I mean, we could put it somewhere northeast Salem, that's unrepresented somehow. I'm not sure.
Are there city properties out there that would have high traffic?
Not like public facing offices. We got some fire stations. That's about it.
So if you wanna do a post about it and then maybe say, hey, we're looking for where decided in the city, any suggestions?
You guys get a poll going and then it's back in this.
And maybe
I mean-
put some of the places we're thinking of, I don't know.
Yeah, that could be just like a kind of a fun little community input thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a nice idea.
Yeah.
I think library civic center is sort of the top, if we can't think of something else to do with it, but I like the idea of asking community to.
Or we can rotate it as temporary art throughout the city and have it in each ward for 3 months.
Yes, right, city's not, city staff isn't busy enough.
Move 'em.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being somewhere where kids could see it, it's
Yeah.
very playful.
It is, I like it. I thought
Yeah.
airport would be perfect, but.
I mean, does SAA maybe, they have a Hess in their front of their building, don't they?
Yeah, I think
We have those 3 pillar, I-beams.
Or we can begin an art trading program, art on loan program. Somebody,
I think I mentioned this last month, but that, like you said, as a kid, this was one of my favorite art pieces that, I grew up here in Salem, so that I always was just drawn to that.
Yeah.
To that little drummer and the rooster, so, yeah, having it in the art kids is cool.
Library sounds nice, just because there's so much.
Yeah, and I think that's what it was, it's
Yeah.
at the library.
If there's
One of
a
those
spot for it.
I would just run to it every time I would.
The entrance to the library, that would be a good one. Okay,
Yeah, or the entrance. Yeah.
and that leads into a conversation about from Kate Van Emerson. So let's see. So Kate is starting the process of perhaps giving a list or gifting the city of Salem the 44 pieces identified in the library.
And
Zach, did you get that email?
yeah, I did, and I liked, she framed it as as an ask to keep what would I guess be considered the former Salem Public Library collection on display at the Salem Public Library, which I think makes a lot of sense. I obviously, I think it's a good idea. I think that especially historic, honoring the history of that collection, it was given to the library to be shown at the library, and Now that the library's been remodeled, it's a nice kind of connecting point back to. I remember that library well as a child when it was more like orange and wood colored, and the art in there always spoke to me. So especially as I don't know, the library seems like a natural showcase for artwork in a variety of ways as well. So I guess leaning into her request and saying, yeah, let's ensure that this becomes preserved as part of the city collection, and let's continue to use the library as a showcase for it and other work in the art hall and all the different other projects that are going on there. So I was generally supportive of her proposal. Do you have any thoughts? Anyone else about that?
Yeah, I think it's something that's been discussed for quite a while, and I already thought it was going through, so I'm all for it.
Okay. Well, she has, offered Zach and I, a time to meet next week. I think we landed on Friday, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm available that morning.
But does it require anything of us to do?
I'm gonna, after the meeting, contact Mark, Weinstein and legal to see what kind of agreements are needed in terms of us taking that into our collection. And any agreements if they wanted to be kept in the library at all times, that would be written.
Right. Okay,
So the library, possible community, right? Cody. All right. I think
black discs.
black discs, we're not gonna do anything until we got the work done from Lee on Drum and Rooster. And then I would have to go out and get two more comparative quotes.
Do we need a place to store the Drummer and Rooster now that they're done? I don't know that I mean, I'm sure Lee will keep them for a minute for us, but he probably doesn't want to store them forever if we're.
Correct. He didn't, his last communication was, let me know where you want me to install it.
Yeah, I know. So I'm trying to honor his
Yeah.
get them out of my workshop. So
As far as the black disc, did you want us to actually see in person the work that Lee has done to say, oh yeah, he did a good job, let's consider him for one proposal and then go out and get the others? Or, I mean, I would say it looks to me like he's done a great job, so maybe just go and get more.
Is that the wishes of the commission? Pursue two more artists to work on the black discs using the tasks outlined by Lee's or Lee's proposal?
sure, and we need to do that, right, to get multiple bids.
Yeah, because it's over 5,000, I have to.
Yeah.
Okay. I will do that, thank you.
Great. So think about storage. Do we have a place that we could put those if we?
Waste processing facility, they have the mosaic there already.
Stored in my house.
There you go.
I was gonna say, Brian, sounds like you're volunteering.
You get some of that rooster all that.
The Public Works Operations Building has space probably next to Chuck and Buck, or that's what we fondly call the man and the beaver, Chuck and Buck.
Yeah, virtual farmyard over there. So.
Exactly.
You have all great art in this building.
Yeah, I'll reach out to some of the facilities manager and see where there might be options. But I know it'll fit in the Civic Center's downstairs storage room, where was the police's old evidence locker. That's where a lot of the current art pieces that are stored at Civic Center is down there. So we do have a space if we want to just put it in a space.
Let's see if we can find a location in the next reasonable period of time, and if we can't, and Lee starts to chafe, then we can stick it in storage for a minute.
Okay.
Okay. Spencer's dropped. I think we're at the end of nearing the end of the agenda. Does anyone else have any new business or comments?
I just wanted to report that Grant Neighborhood has submitted an application to do another street mural at Norway and Winter along the corridor. The Winter Street corridor is a bikeway and greenway. And we're doing it at an intersection there. We're hoping to do the painting over July 4th weekend. So I think I had emailed Keith
Oh,
is saying,
you
who do
were-
I talk to,
Colin Armstrong?
you know, who's the one that's looking at that application and can we?
Yeah, he mentioned that, the process is pretty complicated. What they do is they reach, or the application reviewer, Colin, he reaches out to all the utilities, water, streets, sewer, stormwater, to figure out, is there gonna be any road construction, or cuts within the next, 3 years? So yeah, I think your guys' application came in and was right outside of the boundary. Did you talk to me about that? Oh, I heard, well, there is gonna be there is gonna be construction. I think there's sewer repair that's gonna be needed to be done in that intersection. He said that it may not touch, that the cuts may not touch the actual painting, but there are going to be equipment all over, during the time. Summertime is when we do a lot of construction. And so he was mentioning that if people knew earlier about the timeline required to do our due diligence, that would help, because he feels like he's rushing through it now to get the July deadline. So that's the only constraint is, there is gonna be a risk knowing that there is construction that's gonna be done next year. So it could be a good year, one good year for steam, art, and then could be all grounded up.
Oh. Well, then we could choose another intersection. I mean,
There you
we
go.
can
Yeah,
talk about it,
exactly.
we can talk about it, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
know, who we should be contacting.
Yeah, and I also heard that TOT is not funding any more street paintings.
Right.
And the 7 grants that they had, I'm sorry, travel savings, yeah. Of the 7, they awarded 3, and then they took away the funding for the remaining. So it's now community based without the grants.
There's some money from neighborhood services through the council, but it needs to be used by June 30th. That's why we're pushing, we have to buy the paint, we have to pay whatever.
Okay. Well, I think they'll make it
Tight.
work.
That's all.
It'll make it work, just know that there are risks with the construction. Okay, anything else?
All right, well, thanks, everybody. Keith, I guess I'll see you next Friday if we don't talk before.
And I just want to say, Eddie, or Commissioner Diaz-Salazar, I saw your artwork at the Catalyst gym.
Oh, yeah?
On the wall. I joined it recently and that's awesome.
Yeah. That was a really cool project. They're cool people.
Yeah, and then what is it, community refrigerators?
Oh yeah, it was like a free pantry kind of thing that they had going on. I don't know if they're still doing it, but yeah, I pinned it up too.
That's cool, nice job.
Are they out in public and?
Well, they're having trouble putting it outside on the sidewalk for people, so they have it like indoors. But they roll up their big door and then the community can come and drop off food and pick up food and see the artwork. Yeah, so cool.
Where is that?
Right here in McGilchrist and, what is it? 23rd? It's called Catalyst, what is it, Catalyst Fitness? Not sure, but nice job. I just wanted to do a shout out.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
All right, well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you all next month, if not sooner.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Have a good afternoon.